On this 6th of June, 2022, as we get close to the summer, it is time for another episode of the Gaming Podcast. Me, your host, Brandon Cook, is here, and from a satellite location in South Jersey at his home is the great Johnny Giordano, as we also call you Johnny Crash. Welcome back, Johnny, to the show. How are you?
Good, Brennan. Very pleasant evening to you, as Gary Cohen says.
All right. Well, good to see you. Good to see you, Johnny. And I see you're rocking the Nets hat today. Well, listen,
Yes,
if it wasn't for those Nets losing in the first round of the playoffs, maybe the Celtics wouldn't have been in the NBA Finals. So the Celtics maybe have a reason to thank the Nets for being in the NBA Finals today. So
another factory of sadness in New York.
another factory of sadness in New York. It's amazing. The Nets, who everyone thought would have the best team with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and you sign other players like Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge. You have players on the team that are, like a Patty Mills, have all potential to win a championship. And guess what? Boom, they never even won a championship. Voila! The Knicks fans are just excited and just cheerful and like, you suck, you suck, you suck.
Well,
So,
they've been on the couch longer than the Nets.
hey, but listen, you know what? The Knicks are heading in the right direction. And listen, I'm very excited because we have an NBA draft coming up in a couple of weeks on the 23rd. And the Knicks
Yep.
have the 11th pick. Now, let's see. Now, there's a lot of guys in this draft that could be a potential impact for this Knicks team. I'm very excited because the Knicks just hired an assistant coach. Brunson's father is now the assistant coach under Tom Thibodeau's staff, which is great because we're gonna miss Kenny Payne, who is a very good assistant coach with the Knicks, and he's gonna have his new career with Louisville. And listen, wish him the best as always. But I'm really glad that you know the Knicks are heading in the right direction in terms of potential pickups. They have money now. They're able to possibly pick up a good guy in the draft. Listen, you see the hat I'm wearing. I am hoping that the Knicks select Ron Harper Jr. in this year's NBA draft. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Listen, there's two teams I would either see him go to: the Knicks or maybe even the Chicago Bulls, because that's where his dad played, with Michael Jordan and the great Bulls. But John, what do you think? Do you think the Knicks have a positive to look here? Do you think they have a positive future to see?
Possibly, as long as they don't make any stupid moves.
The Knicks are all about stupid moves. We made so many stupid moves. And listen, I was so for the Porzingis trade. Gave up a
Hmm.
lot of room. Gave up a huge so much money. We got so much money in return. But I'm not so sure if the Knicks can. The one thing I'm a little worried about is in the future, can the Knicks still pick up potential stars? Now, the Knicks haven't had a star. And when I mean star, I mean, all star many times, marquee matchups, always on TV.
Hmm.
Last time the Knicks had a star would probably be Carmelo Anthony.
Hmm.
Carmelo Anthony had a great run with the Knicks, then obviously wanted some other opportunities with other teams, wasn't feeling the same with the Phil Jackson era. But listen, the new era now, I'm really hoping that the Knicks go out and get Donovan Mitchell in this offseason. What about you, John?
I could see him coming home, since his father works for the Mets. He
Yeah,
appears at a
former
lot of Met games.
for the Mets, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's going to be a great uh, move if he could do that, because he'll be in his hometown. He's from New York. He'll be able to, have connections with the Mets. And listen, he'll bring a lot of. I'll tell you this right now. He comes to the Knicks, they're going to go very far because listen, he wasn't very happy with the Utah Jazz in the playoffs. He clearly looked like he was falling apart.
Hmm.
But if he comes to the Knicks, I guarantee he'll put up at least 25, 30 points a game, if anything, maybe more. He is that good. He's got a lot of potential. And if you know him, when he was with the Jazz, when he had there were years where he would just be unstoppable. And listen, if he could bring that to the Knicks, that'd be amazing. That would be a game changer. But we also have to give credit to the way the Knicks have their team now. They do have a good team, I think. Derrick Rose, if he comes back healthy, Obi Toppin, if he looks like the Obi Toppin we saw at the end of this previous season, if we have guys like Robinson be good, you
Hmm.
know, Randall comes back and actually wants to play with the Knicks. You
Don't want
know,
being like Javi Baez playing himself right out of town.
exactly. And we gotta hope. We gotta hope that Randall wants to come back because Randall he doesn't know it, but he's actually he should know it that he's a very important factor on this Knicks organization. And he means a lot to this town and meant a lot, especially to the season when they went to the playoffs 2 years ago.
Hmm.
So, John, to your Nets.
Yeah.
Well, not your if anybody knows you well, you are a neutral fan, right? You do support both teams.
Yes, but I went to more Nets games this year because they were a lot cheaper.
Right, right. So your cousin is a Nets fan, right?
Yep.
So, what do you think the Nets have looking forward into next season? Do you think they should just roll what they got, or you think they need to make some moves in terms of extra pieces, or changing the coaching staff? What do you think they need to do?
Maybe a piece or two. Is Kyrie still under contract?
Yeah, I think for another year. I think he signed a 3-year deal, or maybe I think it's one more. I think it was a 4-year deal, I believe.
Well, as long as they don't have issues playing in Toronto.
Right, because they still have the mandate there that of vaccinated players.
Yep. As we've seen, even an issue with the Blue Jays right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, man. And listen, Kyrie means a lot to that team, and he should. He is a good player. He's a very good player, one of the best in the league. But listen, you got to admit they didn't get it done in the first round against the Celtics. They were embarrassing themselves. I mean, they didn't even win one game.
Hmm.
They might have came close a couple of games, but they didn't win it. Game one, imagine. Listen, I think when they lost game one, when Tatum hit the game-winning layup, I think that took away their momentum. I think that took away the confidence of that team, and it really turned them downhill a little bit.
He does have 1 year left on his contract, Kyrie.
Yeah. John, you like this better or this better? I think I like this better.
I think so. Doesn't look like
You
our
see-
faces are all blown up.
Right, right. And you know what? I noticed when I was looking at my side, it's getting a little darker here. You can't really see my shirt. My shirt, it's getting dark here. So,
So what, now you're a fake Diamondback fan too?
well, I mean, listen, I support the Diamondbacks. About the Diamondbacks, listen, big news for the Diamondbacks today. Tell me the big news, John.
Dallas Keuchel signed a minor league contract.
Dallas Keuchel has signed a contract with the Diamondbacks. Listen, the Diamondbacks are a team that is still rebuilding, but they have a lot to look forward to. And I think Keuchel could bring something to this team that people somewhat expect,
And if he gets called up, they only owe him the minimum, I believe. The White Sox still have to pay that entire contract.
Exactly. But do you think the Diamondbacks have a chance to be a potential wild card team next year?
Maybe.
Or what about this year? Do you think they have a chance of making any kind of postseason run?
That division is too stacked.
It is too stacked. I mean, listen, the Dodgers are the best of the best. The Padres are even good. The Giants are to me a surprise. I mean, they are a team that a good one year, the next year they're off. But I'm looking at the standings right now. You got the Dodgers who are in first place. You got the Padres who are in second, 2 games behind the Dodgers. You got the Giants who are 5.5 games behind the Dodgers. Now it's going to come down to those 3 teams. Now, if you look at the Diamondbacks, they're only 9.5 games behind the Dodgers. Now, let's just say the Diamondbacks go and play the Dodgers. Let's just say the Dodgers lose a few games and the Diamondbacks sweep a series. This could be a close match, a race here. So I'm looking at this wild card, this division. Besides Colorado, the 4 teams ahead of them are actually somewhat close if you think about it. Now, this is not basketball where you worry about one game at a time. This is series 3 or 4 game series. Before you know it, a team could be in first place, second place, third place in one, in a series.
Well, they're already down 2-0 to the Reds tonight.
And the Reds, on the other hand, have somewhat played a little better. I mean, they couldn't play worse than what they did at the beginning of the season, but they're 18-35, 13.5 games behind Milwaukee in first place. But I'm a little confused, John, and
Yeah.
maybe you could explain it to me a little better. How is the wild card going to work this year? Because I understand we had a lockout and they came up with new collective bargaining agreement deals. What is the format of the wild card going to be this year? Because I haven't really looked at what the wild card is going to be this year. I'm used to the 1 game wild card with the top two American League and the top two in the National League. So what's it going to be like this year, John?
So I believe it's after the top three division winners, obviously. Then you get the three wild cards, obviously.
So every team has to play a wild card?
No, the top two teams. So right now in the National League, it will be the Mets and Dodgers. They get a bye.
Right.
I believe it's going to be like how it worked in football that the three plays the six.
Right. So if the season ended today, the Yankees and the Astros would get a bye.
Yep, and it'll be Twins, Jays, Rays, and Red Sox in the American League. Brewers, Padres, Cardinals, Giants in the National League.
Oh, so if you're a Yankee fan, you're hoping that they're the top two, that they're one of the top two best records in the American League.
Back to the Dodgers, though. How about that comeback by the Mets yesterday?
Oh, they needed to win. I mean, that was the what? Were they down 0-2 in the series?
They lost the first two games, beat Bueller on Saturday night.
Oh, it's a 4-game series. Okay.
Yep, and
All right, so they split it.
Yep, they came back against Urias and the Dodger bullpen in the finale yesterday.
Gotcha.
Despite
But
two-time Olympian A. Alvarez coming up big.
yeah, but I'm very excited for these. The Met Dodger games are always fun. John, I really, the way it's looking right now, I mean, we're only a third of the way into the season, maybe a little more. Do you think we'll see a National League Championship series between the Mets and the Dodgers?
Potentially, and big news at Mets camp today. Tyler McGill is on his way to California, possibly to make his return this weekend in Anaheim.
Oh, wow.
Did not see that coming.
Gotcha.
And then
Yeah,
DeGrom and Scherzer not too far behind.
yeah. Do you know, John? You follow the Mets more than I do. Have you seen any timeable returns for the two guys, Degrom and Scherzer?
DeGrom did throw a bullpen session the other day, 19 pitches.
Okay. What
But
about
nothing with
Scherzer?
Scherzer besides the fact that he got bit by his dog.
Oh yeah, which is, I mean, sorry to hear that, but hopefully he's all right with that. Hopefully he didn't get a crazy bite.
And meanwhile, J.D. Davis will be playing first base tonight for the first time in 4 years.
For the Mets?
Yep.
Wow.
Alonso's DHing with Dom Smith down in AAA.
Interesting, Johnny. Interesting, man. Listen. I'm very glad that this has been. It's been about your team and my team have just been dominating.
And your boy Brandon Nimmo's leading off tonight.
Yeah, that's not my boy. That's Doug's boy, man. That's Doug's boy.
That was fun. Those Met games we went to.
Yeah, we're going game June 17th at Marlins, right?
Yep. I have a little interesting wrinkle in a rule for you that you might not have known from the other night.
Yeah.
So the Dodgers down 5 runs wanted Jack McKinstry, a utility player, to come in to pitch. But he could not. Do you know why?
Why?
You have to be down by at least 6 runs or in extra innings to let a position player pitch.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's weird. I've never seen a season where you've had players come pitch on the mound like Pujols, Molina.
Well, I mean, during their final season.
I know, but just in general, I've seen 100 players go on the mound to pitch.
You even had a guy on the Giants pitch on back-to-back nights.
Yeah, and they haven't pitched bad either. They actually, I mean, listen, their average fastball is like 65 miles an hour, but it's still not bad. I mean, listen,
they might be able to hit that.
I don't know if I could hit 65, Johnny. I could probably hit 45. I can't hit. I mean, listen, I've gone to batting cages. I've tried the fastball, the fast pitch one, the fast pitch cages,
Yeah,
and I can't even hit the fast pitch. I get scared when I'm in there.
that's
So
why you wear a helmet.
you know how you go to a batting cage and you have coins and you put in the machine and then the ball start coming out. I get nervous when I put the coin in. I better jump to the other side quickly. This way, before because I'm worried that if I cross the plate, I'm going to get slammed with a fastball. Like I
That's why
better,
you wear a helmet.
yeah. But no, because a lot of these pitches in these cages are low. I've noticed that a lot of them are low pitches. So what if it hits me in the what and I get really hurt? So that's why you got to run. You got to go quickly to the other side because I'm a lefty. It's harder for me because because I've noticed the coin spot is usually on the right batter's side.
Yeah.
But if you're a lefty like you and I, we got to go quickly before the balls come right down the middle and hit us. So,
well, I do have to say I did get hit in that unspeakable area a couple of weeks ago.
You went to a batting cage?
No, in a game.
Oh, really?
Shout out to my friend at the Old Bridge Tigers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, ball bounced off the turf and hit me right in that area. But I kept the ball in front. Very important.
Uh-huh. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back. We're going to talk about the NFL a little bit. All right, we're back here on the J&B podcast on the 6th of June, 2022. We got about 10 minutes left here in the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFL now as we are about 2 months away from the beginning of training camp.
I believe it's actually a month.
Well, oh, wait, training camp starts in late July?
About a month and a half from now.
All right, so like end of July.
Well, they have those OTAs to conclude, I believe, are still going on.
Right. Well, so we're about a month and a half from training camp. We're about 2 months away from the first preseason game for the NFL.
Yep, the Hall of Fame game.
Is that right? 2 months?
Let's check when the exact day of that Hall of Fame game is. It's August 4th, Jacksonville against the Raiders. Shall we discuss the big news of the day that came out of Los Angeles?
Yeah, what's the news?
Aaron Donald got paid.
Aaron Donald got paid. The Super Bowl champ has gotten paid. Well, that's good to hear. That really is good to hear. And listen, he deserves it because they had a good run in the postseason. And listen, John, we got 10 more minutes left because look at me. I'm like invisible in the dark here practically. You can only see my Rutgers hat.
Yeah. You got $95 million over the next 3 years. 65 guaranteed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, listen, I like Aaron Donald. He deserves it. I think he did well with the Rams. I think he has a good team that's surrounding him. So, listen, I give him credit. I like the coach. Sean McVay, very good young guy who really, works well with these players. Got him a world championship.
Was he only 10 years older than me or something?
He's about 10 years old. He's a young guy. He's like in early 30s.
I believe so. He's been in the league.
He's like 5 years older than Doug, I think.
Look.
They're like almost the same age.
Sean McVay is 36 years old, and he actually has the same birth week as me.
Wow.
January 24th of 1986.
Interesting.
And he's been the head coach of the Rams since 2017, leading them to 2 Super Bowls.
2 Super Bowls.
Let's see if you know this, Brandon. True or false, he is the youngest coach to ever win the Super Bowl.
That is true.
That is correct.
John McVay, youngest coach, and you know, I remember with this Super Bowl, Cincinnati had a chance. There were a couple plays where they screwed up, where Burrow could have, you know, crossed the line for a first down, and then they screwed that up, and then that's what gave the Rams the world championship. But John, you know me a lot.
Hmm.
I support the Giants a lot. I'm a Giant fan. I love the Giants. I think the Giants are and you're a big Giant fan too. You love the Giants. You think
Even though I claim you're a big Bills fan.
I support. So how I think of it is I have Bills blood in me, but I'm really a Giant fan. I love the Giants. Um, but I don't think I ever got to ask you, John. We watched the NFL draft in April.
Yep.
What were your thoughts on Thibodeau coming to this team, and what do you think of Evan Neal?
I like Thibodeau. They have a very big defensive problem since that second Super Bowl against the Patriots, obviously. And Neal, of course, addresses the other big need, the offensive line. You can't have Daniel Jones get hit every single play, as we've seen.
You can't have Daniel Jones get hit every game. You can't. You can't. And I think it's very important that they have a great line. And I think bringing these two guys in, Neal and Thibodeau, will really help. Really help. And, you know, the Giants were almost there when they almost got to the playoffs 2 years ago, when they had
6 wins.
Right, when they had 6 wins, they unfortunately had to see the Eagles lose.
Yep, to then Washington football team.
To the Washington football team, and then we had the then we had the we had the Giants win against the Cowboys. So
Yep.
The Giants were ready to watch the Eagles lose, and hopefully, because if the Eagles lost that game, the Giants would have moved on to the playoffs.
Washington had to lose that game, not the Eagles.
Well, right, Washington had to lose. I'm sorry, I miss.
Yeah, that was the year that Wentz got hurt.
So Wentz got hurt, and
they had Hurts playing.
And the Eagles that game absolutely looked embarrassing. They and I still think to this day they purposely did that this way. The Giant, because as you know, Eagle fans are not the most supporting of Giant fans, so they kind of just probably did that on purpose.
New York and Philly, not just football.
Especially baseball, especially basketball. All the sports in Philly are very anti-New York.
The Phillies hate us Mets.
But I think out of all the rivalries in Philadelphia, I think the Rangers and the Flyers and the Devils are the worst. I think that is the strongest rivalry out of all the Philadelphia sports. I could tell you that the Knicks and Sixers are very, very heated too. I could give you a bunch of examples of why I almost got into. I go to the Knicks game. I think it was like 10 years ago. I go in and I go to the bathroom, and this Knicks fans going at it with Sixer fans, and they could be hostile, man. They could be hostile. And listen, it's not a bad thing, but you also don't want it to, be too bad,
Yep.
But
even you could say early 2010s, late 2000s Mets Phillies were a great rivalry. The problem is they both have not been good at the same time in recent years.
Exactly. I agree with you, Johnny. I agree with you. And we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Jets. right, we're back here on the J&B podcast alongside John Giordano and Brandon Schwartz. So let's go move on to the other team in the, as you call, the Factory of Sadness.
Yes,
The
that
New
tortures
York-
everyone more.
The New York Jets. What do you think of their? I mean, listen, I think the Jets did just as good in the draft. And there people are claiming that they got the best player in the draft, in Sauce Gardner. What do you think Sauce Gardner will bring to this team?
Well, first I have to give a shout out to my good friend, as we mentioned in our first show, Kevin Miller.
Shout out to Kevin Miller.
As well as lifelong Jet fan Andrew Toohey.
And Andrew, shout out to Andrew Toohey.
Big Jet fan, go him all the time.
Shout out to Andrew Toohey. And please don't worry. I am in the dark here, so you probably can't see me as it is getting darker outside.
You
But I
should
am
have thought
still
ahead,
here.
Brandon.
I should have thought ahead, but you know what? You can still see a little bit of me. My hands, you see my computer a little bit. But we only got a couple more minutes, Johnny boy. Do you have any final thoughts about what you think you're going to see in terms of, baseball in the next couple of weeks? Will the Mets continue? Will the Mets go on another winning streak? Will they win consistently? Do you think the Yankees will keep winning? How do you think it's going to be in both New York teams?
Well, very important to consider. The Mets have a very tough stretch, as do the Yankees. Mets are playing the Padres for the next 3, Angels, then the Brewers, before they finally get a little bit of a break with the Miami Marlins.
Listen,
But I can see them winning a
hope the
bunch.
best. I hope the best for you, man, and I wish that we see you in the World Series this year.
P. Alonso, MVP.
Pete Alonso, MVP. I'm going Aaron Judge, MVP.
Well, you have to remember there's an MVP in both leagues.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. MVP, I think it's going to be – I don't think he's going to win the MVP in the AL, in the NL. I think it's going to be
Goldie?
I like Alonso. I don't think he's going to win the MVP. I think there's other players that could win the MVP. I think a guy from maybe the Dodgers will win it. But you never know. We still got a long
Very
way.
important, though, Brandon. Shout out to Dave from the Tigers who suggested this topic.
Shout out to Dave from the Tigers. And we hope that you are.
A lot of Tigers mentioned tonight, Brandon, even though we saw the Yankees beat the real Tigers.
Absolutely. Listen, Johnny, I got to tell you something. I really liked your show today. I like your setup at home. And I hope that, I hope that you win on Sunday. You win the baseball game on Sunday. And I hope that you have a good time at the Cubs Yankees this Friday at Yankee Stadium. Again, this episode of the J&B podcast has been brought to you by our good friends at the Lava Broadcasting. Tune in to Excelsior Show anywhere, anytime. Feature, podcast, and podcast. On that note, Johnny Boy, pleasure having you on the show.